Good afternoon and welcome to London Real. My name is Brian Rose. With me is the extremely good-looking Nick Gabriel. And joining us in studio today is Monique Lester, and she's the director of London Digital PR. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's the first time any of us have met Monique. We had a really cool phone conversation, but we've never met her. So, props to you for just coming into a really strange scenario that you don't even know what's going to happen.
How exciting.
It is exciting, right?
It's very exciting.
Well, before we get to Monique, and I think Monique's got tons to talk about, I'm just going to quickly talk about our sponsor. Now, we have a sponsor because this show's free for everyone out there, and we want to keep it that way. We're never going to charge for this show, and that's just the way it is. So if you've heard this... Whoa. No, I was thinking we'll get quoted that later to us, like in a year, when it's like $5 a show. But in the immediate future, we have no plans to charge for this. So we have a sponsor. If you've seen this ad before, that's cool. Just skip forward YouTube by like 3 minutes. But if you want to hear more, we can tell you about On It Labs, who are the makers of Alpha Brain, which Monique's just taken, and which is a nootropic to basically help your brain work a little bit better. It's got a lot of ingredients that I think, Nick, you take anyways, a lot of your physical supplements. And then also Shroom Tech Sport, which I've taken the third time now. I took it before my kettlebell workout on Wednesday, and man, I felt good. I just felt like I was processing the oxygen better. I mean, okay, some small sample size, but I'm happy with it so far. I was looking through the ingredients. It's got like green tea extract and ginseng and stuff you take anyways, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I still want to try it though, because I mean, you've seen how many pills I take, dude. I'd rather just have one single.
Having lunch with him, he pulls out his pills. There's like 30 pills, and he always says to the waiter, he's like, "All right, remain calm. Everything's fine. I just need some water." And he takes all these pills. But anyways, they have those two. Also, they have something called Shroom Tech Immune, which is just to help your immune system. It's a slightly different mushroom as opposed to the Shroom Tech Sport, which has the cordyceps mushroom. And then rounding it out is New Mood, which has L-tryptophan in there. And it's just to kind of keep you in a better mood.
That one's cool. Put me on a buzz after the last show.
You like really the New Mood, don't you? Yeah, really I haven't had as much of that. But if you want any of these products, you can go to onit.com. That's ONNIT for those people listening to us on iTunes. And if you type in London Real, you get 10% off. Check it out or don't. Also the ingredients are on the website. So if you want to just mimic your own, you can look it up and go buy them separately and mix up your own batch and sell it and get rich. So anyways, there it is. I'm going to turn this over to Nick, who has a new look. I would call you Four Eyes, but that's so.
But I can beat you up.
Preschool, yeah. I think it would be close, but I do know Nick can beat me up. That's how I met Nick. So I'll turn it over to you, Nick.
Yeah, Monique, so good to have you here. And
Thanks.
Tell us about, it's called London Digital PR.
Yeah, London Digital PR is my little agency. I'm a resource bank. I work with some great guys that do graphics and web design. And I started it when I got interested in social media in 2008.
Okay.
And social media is it's a tool. But I developed following just by writing, and in fact sometimes my own nonsense. My following's been built really because I tweet about everything, anything, and engaging in conversation, just talking to people.
Okay. When you say following, how many Twitter followers do you have?
I think I've got nearly 8,000, but it's all been without actually buying them or any of that stuff. It's all organic. It's all from having conversations with people. So I've probably said hello to a lot of those people at some point, which is cool.
Tricky to grow a Twitter following, isn't it? Because it really has to grow on its own. You can't really force it. You can friend someone on Facebook, and then you all of a sudden have a Facebook friend. But for Twitter followers, they have to find you, don't they?
There are ways. There are tools you can use to help you follow it. But I just found with me that the best way was really to actually have conversations with people and
so basically mimicking real life interactions or
Yeah.
using real life interactions to fuel the growth of your own social network.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I suppose London Digital PR grew because people started contacting me through social media. That's where most of my work has come from. So
do you think it's like to get someone to add you on Twitter or to follow you on Twitter or even on Facebook? I know Brian and I, we have thousands and thousands of people watching and listening to this show every week. But to get people to like the Facebook page is like a Herculean task. What could you, or what would you say you've identified as some of the key requirements that you need, or that you need to fulfill in order to get people to take that secondary step of actually clicking like on the page or clicking follow on Twitter?
right? You've got to do something that's going to get them joining in with you and talking. You can ask people to like your page, but that's not really going to get them involved. You need to do things like competitions, contests, asking them questions. So getting them to vote for the best podcast, what they want to hear about, getting them involved. So, you know, ideas for you guys about what you want to be, who you want on your show at some point, getting your audience to interact with you, which I think really works. I mean, I post lots of things on my London Digital PR page, and I have to say, I was just, because I've done so much work for clients, I haven't actually done that much work promoting myself. It's just happened organically over the last 4 years, which has been fun.
I guess it's a sign that you're good at what you do.
It's interesting. Yeah, I was reading a couple like top tips for Twitter and top tips for blogs, and it was said like use a 75-25 rule. So only 25% of the time promote yourself or your own product, and the rest of the time either promote others or just talk about interesting things. I mean, it shouldn't be a tool to sell all the time.
It's adding value, right?
Because people feel that, and they're like, okay, you're selling to me. Every time I read your tweet, you're trying to push.
Absolutely.
It's more and more about like a real social action. I mean, if you were sitting with someone having a conversation and you tried to sell them every 2 sentences, they would walk away, right?
It's like on Facebook when I don't know about you guys, but for me, if someone says something like, I just had an amazing breakfast, it's instant unsubscribe. You know, like I don't even think twice. It's straight away unsubscribe from my newsfeed. But if I see a link through to something that I find interesting, and this person, I might not even know them, you know, they might have been someone who added me from my jiu-jitsu page or something. But if I see a few interesting posts or retweets or something by them, I think, okay, this guy's adding value. He's got something cool to show me, and then I'll take more of a notice of him, I guess. Would you say it's the same kind of thing?
No.
Interesting.
No,
not for
because I haven't tweeted about what I have for breakfast, although there are times when I have said that I need chocolate, which is a real girly thing. But
that would have been unsubscribed for sure.
You see, for me, that's got loads of conversation going on. It's got loads of conversation. Really? You know, it's a female to female thing, speaking to other people. Not everybody wants information all the time about everything. Sometimes it's the human stuff. It's the talking about stuff that's not really anything to do with anything important that is going to get you talking to people. I mean,
interesting.
I think that's how it's worked for me.
Is it different on Twitter than on Facebook? Because on Twitter, you expect it's just there's so many feeds that it's not like a Facebook where it's like, I think it's a little bit more. Yeah, you're not Facebook posting as often.
Yeah, very, very much so. Facebook is very much a business marketing tool. If you're using a page on Facebook, there's loads of things you can do. You can be adding vouchers. You can be, as I said, doing the competitions, all sorts of things. You can do the same on Twitter as well. You can obviously have codes or ask people to retweet and do all kinds of stuff. But Facebook is very much, you have to get your community to interact with you. And also the thing of having a Twitter on your mobile phone and being able to tweet a picture or everything else, it makes it really easy, and it's 140 characters. Facebook is much more about a bigger post or something more interesting to say, saying more.
And these are constantly changing mediums, aren't they? I mean, even a couple of years ago, there weren't any Facebook corporate pages, right? It was just people, right? And then Facebook is changing constantly, right?
All the time. To do this stuff, you have to do a lot of reading.
Okay.
What's weird, I can't get into Twittering. I don't know why. I just can't get
Twitter's
into it.
Twitter's tough, and it's tough to grow because we're growing from nothing with London Real. And if you know, we might have 50 followers or 60. I don't know the last time I checked, but to grow that is difficult, isn't it?
It is, but I think the more you interact with your audience and the more you actually start doing things that mean that you're getting your audience involved in what you're doing rather than just putting out your podcasts, you actually start asking them for feedback on what you're doing. And it's the feedback that will get people talking to you.
I think on that note, we have to say a big shout out to our reader, Julian.
Oh yeah, I actually wrote him down. Post. Julian Bales, he did this crazy master post on our last episode about the movie Shame. I mean, it was like 6 paragraphs long about his thoughts on the movie and everything. And
it actually gave me quite a cool perspective on the film as well.
It was quite it was very, very well written. I just had a message with him and I was like, "Are you an English major?" It was very well written, very well thought out, and some great comments by him. Also, Roseanne Freza, she wrote some really great comments. I just want to shout out to those people, but that's really good advice. What do you think is the biggest mistake people make when it comes to digital PR? Because obviously everybody wants to be in it now, and most people, I would say, don't know what the hell they're doing. And there must be tons of people out there in your field that don't know what they're doing, but are taking lots of money from Ford Motor Company, from Coca-Cola. What's the biggest mistake some people make, do you think?
That's a great question, Ryan.
Biggest mistake? I think you've got to be prepared to answer. If you're a company and you're using social media, and if there's a criticism and you don't answer it, then it's not going to look good. And I think really anything that you're putting online, you've got to be aware that it's going to stay online. Anything you do is going to be on. It's very,
Forever.
very hard to get rid of content. Really hard. To go to Google and get something taken off of somebody's blog or get something removed is really difficult. You still need an injunction to do it. Very interestingly, they don't really want to know about what's put on there as long as their tools are being used properly. So I think one of the biggest bits of advice is be sure that what's going out there is positive. Be measuring what's going on, what people are saying to you, and just keep watching what's being said. I mean, what I would say to business owners as well, especially with small businesses as well, is put your own name into Google and see what's coming up. There's some interesting stuff if you put mine in.
Really?
We'll not cover that today, but yes,
Okay.
it's very
So
interesting.
you're saying watch what's being said about
What's
you?
being said
Okay.
about you, and as a company, actually engage with. If someone said something negative about you, be prepared to answer it, and be prepared to answer it fast.
I saw this on, there's a website called TripAdvisor, and you can go on there and check out the hotels and things like that and see what's good and bad. And you found that the smart hotels watch that like a hawk. And if anyone complains, because there's always a complaint at a hotel, the breakfast was cold or something. I saw the good hotels were on there right away saying, we're really sorry about that. Next time you come back, we'll give you a free breakfast. We've already fixed that problem. And when you read that they're interacting with you, you're like, okay, this hotel gets it and they care, as opposed to just these people that don't respond to that social media. So
It's completely changed customer service in retail because it is so easy to find out straight away, as you said, what hotel's crappy, what restaurant's crappy. I can walk down the street and open a little app, and then I can find out if I see a restaurant that I want to eat in. I can tell straight away if the food's good based on people's obviously subjective opinion. But that will affect my decision for sure. And I think it's overall for the consumer, it's such a cool thing because they don't have to go and drop 100 quid on a meal and be totally disappointed with it. They don't.
or read a review in a magazine that might, I don't know, be skewed one way or the other.
I guess so. Yeah.
I think that's why
a good
corporations are embracing Facebook, because they put these ads out and people like them. So when your friend recommends a movie, you go see that movie, and it's like when the advertisement comes on, you're like, maybe. Yeah. Maybe that's where viral marketing comes in as well.
Yeah, of course. And I think, like you guys are using video. Video's a big deal now.
Powerful.
Visually putting a message across that people are going to get to see is, I've worked with quite a few clients in the last few years who've really got into this, way more than I have actually. They've really, really got into actually promoting what they're doing by using video tips, and I think it's fantastic. There's a coach I work with, and she's done the most amazing. I think she did a whole load of tips, which were just a minute long, but imparted enough information that it was interesting to watch, and it's getting her out there. So cool. Video is really important as well.
Yeah.
What would you say? Because one of the things Brian and I wouldn't say we're struggling with it, but it's always in our minds is we get one of the biggest criticisms of our show is that it's too long. People are like, I just don't have a spare hour, and I'm personally of the opinion that look, if you can't find like a spare hour once a week in your life to watch London Real, you need to seriously reprioritize your life. But it's like, do you think there's some merit to that? I mean, do you think the show would be different if it was 30 minutes? Or obviously it would be different, but do you think it would be better if it was 30 minutes? Or
No.
Okay. Why?
No. If you build a fan base and you build a following, people watch TV programs. It's just a different way of watching a show. If this was a talk show on TV and it was an hour, then people would watch it. Video is just another medium. It's just another way of you doing it. No, I don't think so, personally. I think it's about your fan base and who's going to be following you because they're interested in what you're doing.
I watch podcasts that are 3 hours long. I might not watch them all at once. I might be cooking while I'm watching it or listening and that kind of thing. But I think it's a new medium people aren't used to. When you click on a YouTube video, everything's usually a minute and a half. So when you look at our video, it's like, whoa. No, that's interesting you said that. I don't think we can get to the bottom of meeting someone in 30 minutes because usually the juicy stuff starts coming out in half hour, 40 minutes true. When Monique starts telling about her crazy life.
How far in are we, Brian?
We're like 15 minutes in. So tell us more about you, Monique. I know that you recently launched or relaunched a website for your art as well. And
yes.
I've looked at some of it, but can you just tell us more about you as an artist?
Yeah, in fact, I have to thank my dad for that one, who will never watch this on a video unless I actually show it to him, bless him. But he sat me down when I was a little girl and started teaching me about perspective and he's an amazing artist. I mean, he's never shown it. He's never really sort of gone for it, but he's a really, really good artist. And I loved it. And I loved it from, I don't know, as far back as I can remember. So I started painting, and I'm very much self-taught, but I worked with some people in a studio, and I've started developing all sorts of things. And then I sort of progressed and set up a website, and I was having my own exhibitions at one point, and I didn't do it for quite a long time, and now my soul needs it now.
Okay.
I'm going
It's
back to
therapeutic
it.
to a certain extent.
Therapeutic, and also I'll be doing some good stuff with it because I'm doing some body casting training and some body painting training, and I want to combine all of it, work with people with it, so it's good. People see themselves in a different way when you're making them look beautiful with paint.
So you do body painting and body casting? What are can you explain both of those?
Okay, so body casting, I'm just finishing training for. It's creating sculptures, 3D sculptures in clay, in plaster or resin that you can then paint, and you can beautiful pieces really
Of someone's body,
someone's body parts, or of a complete body. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So it's and it's really quite special. It's sort of like people do it for their pregnant bellies and that sort of thing.
They come to you and say, "I want a copy of my body."
Yeah, well, that's what I will be doing. That's the thing that I'm working
That's
on
cool.
now. But I've done that a bit with pregnant women with body painting, so painting their pregnant stomachs, which is gorgeous.
Wow. And
I
then
love it.
And then they wear it to a party, or they go to the beach,
No,
or they take a picture.
take a photo of it and they remember what their stomach looked like, and
Oh,
it's
I get
really
it.
it's really
That's kinda
cool.
cool.
It is cool. It is
Yeah,
cool.
it's interesting. It's out there, right?
The only time I ever heard of body painting is when Hugh Hefner does it at the Playboy Mansion once a year, and he paints the naked girls.
Yeah.
And
know
then so you should get to that party. But that's the only time I've really seen body painting.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was in Ibiza one time and with my girlfriend, and they painted her leg.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
It is cool. It is cool.
Seriously?
It's hard to
Yeah.
explain, but it's something quite.
It's really cool, and it's like using a human body as a canvas, which to me is I paint naked people.
Wow, what's
A
that
lot.
like?
Great.
Well, I
Great.
thought most people are uncomfortable with their bodies, and most people aren't proud of their bodies. So how do you get them to come in and make a cast of a body that they might not be perfectly proud of?
I'm shameless. I don't feel that. I feel, it's like my body gave me 2 great kids, and I don't care about any of that stuff.
That's
so I suppose
your body, though.
But if you impart that to the person that you're painting, then I think it's very easy. I think
Okay.
it's about making them feel comfortable. It's about making them feel, go for this, because everybody's beautiful in their way. And it's,
Yeah.
I suppose don't get me started on the whole stereotypical girl thing, but
What is
I
the
suppose,
whole-
Let's get her
What
started.
is the
Let's
whole
go.
stereotypical girl thing?
the sort of the Hugh Hefner supermodel thing. It just
Okay.
it doesn't. You know what? There's loads of different kinds of beauty, and I suppose what you're saying is people compare themselves, and what do they?
Men do too.
Men do too. I just had a great experience on the tube, actually, listening to 2 young guys talk about what they thought of the girls in the office, and I was really laughing, and they got caught, and they knew they got caught. It was
Really?
great. I mean, it was all about the size of the girls' boobs in the office, and I thought it was hysterical. But look, of course, girls and guys do the same kind of thing, and I think you're right. I think men do it, and it's actually it's interesting you say that, because I think it's something that comes up for guys that they don't deal with very much. Is that there's a lot of self-image stuff that guys have that isn't written about in the press as much.
There's a lot. A lot. I mean, a lot, yeah.
I read a book a while back called The Adonis Complex.
Okay.
You read about it?
No.
It's how the social pressures on men to conform to particular body ideals are becoming just as strong as the ones for women. And that's why you see these dudes who work out in the gym like 2 hours a day and take creatine and whatever, probably anabolic steroids as well.
Right.
I've got this buddy, and I won't say his name, but he knows he's got Adonis complex. He's like, if I miss a meal or if I don't work out one day, I feel guilty. I start feeling fat. And he's the kind of dude we'll go to watch a movie and he'll pull out like a chicken breast wrapped in tinfoil in the cinema.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like...
He's really into it. I can see it, and you see it now. There's more and more billboards of men and pictures of men and where are your abs and all that stuff. And I mean, I used to train a lot. I still do. And I used to train jiu-jitsu a lot, Nick, and lift a lot and stuff. And the first thing I would meet with guys out in the city, they'd be like, all right, what's your workout routine? How you doing that? How you doing that? Well, how can I do that? What do you eat? They all want to know. Because it's like they could get their money or they could get this, but that's like one thing they haven't figured out yet, and it stresses them out.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, being an artist and painting nudes, sometimes it would be just I mean, if you look at my stuff, it's just been a body part rather than the whole person, because, you know, you're focusing on the beauty of something in particular, or a face, or, you know, it doesn't really matter. For me, it's just an extension. These things I'm doing now, the body painting and the body casting, are an extension for me of painting nudes, but just using a human being, which is, I think it's fantastic. It's really nice, actually. It's a really nice feeling. It's really fun. It's quite intimate. It's good.
So you wouldn't do it for like a party?
I would do it for a party. But you know what? For me, I mean, I did some stuff. You can see on the website, I did some stuff with face decorating, and I did some stuff for my daughter when she was off to a fancy dress party, and it's great fun. But there is definitely something great about getting someone to stand there naked and covering their body in really great designs and paint.
It's kind of like tribal. I mean, back in the day, we used to put on wall paint and ceremonial paint and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you always photograph it afterwards? That's the idea. And can you tell us the website?
Yes, it's nakedsoulartcom.
Nakedsoulartcom. Okay, we'll put it up on the video as well.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
That's pretty interesting. Although I know this is just the tip of the iceberg, I think.
Well, I don't know, but yes.
So how long have you been doing PR, or how long have you been, I don't know, networking, or however you say it? What do you say you do? 'Cause PR is such a generic term that gets thrown around.
PR is a very generic term, and I'm not a sort of classic PR print media girl at all. I think the thing that I've been doing over the last few years is taking people's messages and putting them on the net. Lots of training people in how to use social media. There's a lot of people doing that stuff now, and that's why I'm sort of veering on to doing other bits and pieces. And I think the generation sort of coming through school now will be able to do this stuff in their sleep. Yeah. It's not going to be something we have to teach them. I think really, if you sort of look at the 30 plus age group, they're still getting into it. Who's an influencer, who's not an influencer. You know, the young guys behind Facebook and all of these companies are obviously, you know, it's really hot right now. But I think these things are going to change, and I think we will be, we'll have to offer something quite special later on. I don't think there's going to be so much that it focuses just on social media itself as time goes on. I think we're going to have to be doing other stuff as well. Now,
Facebook is coming out with their IPO. It's big news now. They think it's going to push $100 billion. It's probably somewhere between 75 and 100. They have to IPO because they've got over 500 shareholders, so they're going to have to start publicly reporting information. So might as well IPO it. And obviously, there's a lot of people with shareholdings and stuff. I mean, there's some crazy stories out there. There's a guy who painted the murals of the wall on the original Facebook headquarters 5 years ago or something, and they said, I'll give you $1,000, I'll give you some stock. And he's like, I'll take the stock. And he's going to be worth $200 million on the float.
No, that's pretty. That's pretty cool, isn't it? For a day's work.
And at the time, he said, "I think this is a stupid company and it's pointless."
So why did he take?
He was an artist. I don't know. He was just like, whatever. I don't know. But maybe he saw everything going around him and he just took it. But he didn't think. He thought social media was dumb.
That is insane.
Yeah, I mean, then that's only one story. Yeah. Obviously, Zuckerberg and everyone is going to be really rich. It's going to be one of the highest valued companies. It's going to be the largest IPO ever, bigger than Google, and it'll be worth more than Ford Motor Company and things like that.
That's insane.
And then the whole question is, people are saying is, because what they're really selling, what the value is really all of our personal information. Absolutely. Everything we've liked, every message you've sent, all the ads that are targeted on the right, they're targeted based on the messages you and I send to each other, what we've liked, what we've posted.
Yeah.
And the question is there a value for that information, and is it worth
advertiser's dream.
Is it worth $100 billion?
No, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Will Facebook be here in 10 years?
I think so.
But you think it'll be different?
I think it will be different. I think they'll be doing other things. I think there's a lot of stuff they haven't actually tapped into yet, which I'm quite surprised about. I'm surprised they're not doing more of their own e-commerce. I'm surprised that they're not selling more of their own product in a way.
Okay.
But yes, I think they will be here. But I think there'll be other things too. I think we have no idea what's going to happen from day to day.
True. Brian said something really interesting to me a long time ago, which was, because I think I made some comment about how like Facebook is here to stay. It's become such a juggernaut that there's going to be nothing to stop it. And you said, just look at MySpace. Look how fickle people are.
Yeah.
I mean, MySpace is dead and buried now, basically.
Completely dead. Yeah.
And who knows? Something could come along next week that's the new Facebook.
Netscape was another one. It was a big IPO in 1995. It was a web browser. No one had ever seen this thing that you could just pull up all this information on the web. Huge IPO. 6 years later, zero. Internet Explorer came out with Microsoft, and it was just dead.
Yeah.
There's tons of examples of this.
Absolutely.
I do think Facebook has some legs, and You know, it's interesting you say about the e-commerce, because if you've seen the movie The Social Network, I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
You know, Zuckerberg was he was hesitant to put ads up. He's like, that makes it cheap. This is cool now. He also said, we don't know what this is yet. And so they didn't do that in the beginning. Of course, they're doing ads now.
It's much like much the same with London Real.
I said that to you, the first couple times. It's like, we don't really know what this is yet. Yeah. And it's funny, Monique, when we were creating London Real, everyone was trying to tell us what it should be.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you guys need to do this. You need to do that. You don't have a topic. You don't have it's too long. You know this. And we were like, you know what? We know what we want this to be, you know, and we don't know what it's going to be, but we know the general direction. And it's not what you want it to be. It's what we want it to be. You know,
everyone has an opinion on everything, you know, and if you listen to everyone else, you'll never get anything done.
And you probably won't create something unique. So, so we have a little bit of, maybe we'll be doing an IPO in 10 years.
You never know.
And we'll give Monique
Why
stock.
Not? Perfect. I'll come and paint something for you, and you can pay me in stock.
Cool,
That's
let's
perfect.
do it. You know what we should do, Brian? For those of you watching, listening, sometimes Brian and I speak about having a London Real party, and I know we will sooner or later do it.
Yeah.
But we should do it like a reunion for all the guests, and all of them could do something along the lines of their speciality. So like we could have Monique painting, and James from Humble Grape like giving out wine. And
fantastic idea.
That's a cool
Love
idea.
that.
I like that. We should do that. Let's do it in the summer.
Yeah, parties are
We
good.
could get Dimitar to give out vaccines.
Pass around clean needles. That's great. That's great. Thank you. So you're not doing this to make money with your painting, or
I will be.
You will be.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be commercial, but it's very much a soul thing as well. It's very much art for me is all about expression.
Is it all about expression, or is it more than that? Is it more therapeutic and communicating with the people?
It's all of that
quite
stuff.
intimate what you do.
I think I've been rolling this thought around in my mind for a long time. Maybe I could get your opinion on it. I think human beings are naturally creative and expressive, right? Entities, because if you take my perspective, and I'm not saying it's the right one, but what I believe is that we're a reflection of God, which is this creative source which created the universe, right? And that's why so many people are so miserable in like boring office jobs, because we aren't created as drones or worker ants. We're created to create and express. And when you take some dude and you sit him down and you say, look at this Excel spreadsheet for every day for the next 8 hours, 5 days a week until you're 65, and then we'll give you a gold watch and a payout. Like, no wonder so many people want to kill themselves. It's just
because they don't have a creative outlet.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore.
Or not?
It's not like that anymore. Most people don't have a job for life anymore.
Fair enough, but you know what I'm saying.
But I agree. I mean, that's why I've never been really good at the office job sort of thing.
Myself.
I've never really I'm not very good at that. I'm not very good. I am much more about interacting with people. So yeah, for me it's great. But I write as well. I mean, I've done lots of marketing writing with London Digital PR, and I like it's the expression.
Writing is fun.
Yeah.
What kind of writing did you do? Like writing copy?
Blogging and content and press releases and writing tweets and and I'm looking forward to doing some of that on Naked Soul Art. I'm going to be writing a bit about my journey and how the website got to where it got to, and then what I'm doing next. And you know, it's very self-indulgent, but it's really good fun. But people do start paying attention, and you know, you trigger something in someone else that's going through a similar situation, and that's how communities start online.
What do you think about communicating digitally and communicating in person? Because so many people are plugged into the Facebook and everything, and I am now because of the show, and we promote it on there. And I'm checking the YouTube views, and I'm checking Facebook, and I'm meeting this dude Julian who lived in Beijing, and at some point, are we missing something? Because like having a conversation, like Nick and I agreed we would never have a Skype guest. We need the guest in studio. Like
right.
I need to see what Monique's thinking and how she's feeling. And I mean, like, are we substituting something here? Are we missing?
It's really interesting because I have done a lot of getting to know clients. I mean, obviously, talking to people in another country on Skype as a way to introduce myself to them or whatever. And one of the things I would say is that, we have lost a bit of the ability. I mean, we're texting instead of picking up the phone to people now. Yeah. We're not driving over and going out for a coffee. We're chatting on Skype or Facebook or whatever. So we have lost something. But I think for me, the important thing to remember is when you're actually interacting online, you're interacting with people. Of course, there's the robots and the people that are following automated profiles and all the rest of it. But I think the important thing is when you are putting anything out online is to remember that actually what you're doing is you're talking to people.
Well,
People are at the end of those profiles. You're at the end of your profile. When you're putting a message out there, you're putting it out there, but in the end, the people that are reading it are people like us. And I think that's something that has always been at the back of my mind, is that you're not just talking to another computer.
That's well said.
that is really well said.
Because I guess they want to make a personal connection with you at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, are we starved as humans, are we just starved to make a personal connection with others?
I don't think so. Like,
really?
I used to believe that for a long time, because I had quite a negative worldview about how everything's getting worse and things aren't as good as they were back in the day. You know, that problem of romanticizing and idealizing the past. You know? But sure, of the X amount of people on Facebook, on each of our profiles, yeah, maybe we don't meet every single one of those people in a coffee shop once every few months or even once a year. But how many of them would you have no interaction with whatsoever if they weren't on Facebook?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
No, I agree. And the other thing is, I think there's an awful lot of love out there for people are sharing a lot of good stuff as well. I mean, there's obviously, it's used for some awful stuff, and it can be. But you know what? I'm not going to talk about the negative side of it, because there's loads of it, and I think it's better. You know, the way I like to look at it is I've met some amazing people. You know, I've worked with a filmmaker journalist in Norway, and I would never have met her had it not been for Facebook. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't have bumped into her in a coffee shop in Oslo. And you know, she's become a great girlfriend of mine, and she does some amazing work, which I would have known nothing about. So as far as I'm concerned, social media for me has been pretty much a positive in my life.
I find that most people are positive on the social media, especially when they're not anonymous. You know, back in the day with YouTube, I get a lot of anonymous comments on my old videos, but I mean, especially with London Real, we get 98% positive. And the people I follow on Facebook, it's 95% positive. I think is like as the old clan mentality. I think as we were talking about, is like a group of hunter gatherers. I think we're naturally we push away. I think we push out the negativity, because I don't think it's positive for the whole group, and I think nobody wants that, and I think that's why I don't see it as much.
Well, those people will congregate in their own little negative group.
Maybe,
you know what I mean?
Maybe, but I don't know. I find it mostly positive, like you said.
Yeah, I know there is a load of negative stuff out there, but I think you know, for me personally, I've really had great experiences meeting people there. But then it does become, you know, I flew out to Norway and I met my friend Linda, and she's fantastic. So she is now a real life friend. And that's happened a lot for me. That's really happened a lot. And I think that's the truth, is that in the end we are meeting real people. And if we build a friendship with those people, that friendship is just as valid as if I was sitting having a coffee with them. So, yeah.
It leads to that, basically.
Yeah.
I just sometimes I've been on social media like 6 hours in the day, and I'm like, wait a second, you know, I haven't actually said hello to another human being, and I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong with me?
Yeah, it's not good to be stuck. I mean, I just spent a lot of time on a big project I was working for a client last year, and yeah, I got told off by my boyfriend a lot, because he said, "You're always buried in Facebook," and he's right. You know, it was. It's not about being addictive. It's about the fact that we could do so much by sitting in front of our laptop now, that we don't actually have to go out and socially interact. There is that interaction. For me, that's not enough. For me, that's one of the reasons I want to get back into doing hands-on art and lots of things that are very much not about sitting in front of a laptop.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, there was this show about gambling in Las Vegas, and it's like they have these machines now. They're not just like slot machines, and they're like these really super duper like slot machines. There's all sorts of like video, and you put your money in, and you always get like, you know, a few cents back, and they just charted it in the lab, and you get all these dopamine spikes and stuff, and it's really addictive. And sometimes I plug in for our stuff, and I'm checking our stats on London Real, and I'm checking who's the comments, and I'm like, wait a second, am I just this little monkey, just like I would be in Vegas, trying to get all these little dopamine
and
kicks?
every time you see that little red notification on your little world symbol on your Facebook, you get that, or that little message symbol, you get like a little dopamine spike. That's interesting.
I'm thinking, man, I got to walk away from this. I need to get out and
there's something to be said for not doing it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, tell me more about that. You've mentioned the information diet, like.
Oh, what? That mentioned now or before?
Back in maybe like 10 episodes ago.
Tim Ferriss, in his original book, The 4-Hour Workweek, you know, now he's done the 4-Hour Diet, and he's super famous now. And
apparently he's got a 4-hour cookbook as well or something.
Does he? I'm sure he does. But the original 4-Hour Workweek book, I read it. I didn't finish it. I did. You know, it could only apply to certain people. Maybe it would apply to you. I don't know. But it was certain businesses where you can run them and not be present and all the time, like 8 hours a day. You know, I used to work in the city, and I had to be on the phone 10 hours a day. But one thing he called was the information diet, which I started using, and I would only open my email after noon every day, and that was what it was known, and people would know that. And they're like, I sent you a message this morning, you didn't get it. I'm like, I don't open my email till noon. If it's really important, you call me. Otherwise, I don't. And so that was the information diet. And so he just restricted himself. I check it once, and then I leave it alone. Because otherwise, you sit there all day, and you're like, okay, where's the next?
I actually love that idea. I actually really love it.
Yeah, I'll do that too.
I love it. I love that idea.
Can you do that in your work?
Yeah.
So just check your email once. Check your Facebook once.
I think you have to set up an expectation that would be the case, and it is doable. But actually, there's something amazing about getting out and going to the gym and having a cup of coffee and actually not checking into your Facebook and not being answerable. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one of the things about going on holiday, that it's a laptop-free zone. I did coin that phrase from the other half, but it is a laptop-free zone.
And you leave it at home?
I can't, no, I don't want to know. Don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
How many hours do you estimate that you work a day, Monique?
Now less, because I've just become a student and I love it. So, so now less. Now I'm taking on projects that I really want to take on. I'm working with people that I really want to work with. But yeah, there's been times when I've done 18 hours a day of sitting in front of a laptop and thinking, I'm not finished yet. But you know what? In the end, you have to stop. You have to stop.
Are you from London originally?
I'm a Surrey girl originally. Okay. Just outside London.
All right. But you've been living in the city or near the city for most of your life?
Yeah.
Okay. And how's London changed? And do you love London?
Do you know, I've been on the tube a lot today, and I've been watching the buskers in the tube stations, and they are fantastic.
They are.
And it's just sometimes just watching people's reaction. It made me smile. I love London, but I actually discovered very recently that I quite like being a country girl as well, and that sometimes it's quite nice to get away from it. It's noisy, it's busy,
it's dirty as well.
It's dirty. It has changed, but then has it changed that much? I suppose when I was a teenager and clubbing, it was just as messy and dirty as it is for my kids now. So
you probably wouldn't be doing this in Shoreditch 20 years ago.
Maybe not.
Shoreditch
actually,
has changed
maybe I mean, this exactly. Some of the inner city areas have really changed, and which is good. But yeah, I'm sounding old now.
Do you have a place in Surrey where you can kind of go and
No,
go,
I don't have any connection to that at all. No.
So you do miss having the country a little bit.
Yeah, and
for
me,
too.
I lived in the country for a while recently, and I loved it. It was really good.
Were you coming to work commuting and stuff?
No, because I was there, and it was just being able to walk in, go out in the middle of tiny little villages, and it's all very pretty green countryside, and there is something nice about that. I mean, but I love London. I think the diversity in London is fun.
It's insane.
It is.
But I also
best
think
of any city in the world.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know.
What city is more diverse than London?
New York, and everybody is much more of a melting pot. And I think here it's quite an interesting setup.
I disagree with you.
You look at it. I think that we have a huge amount of different communities, but who don't always interact very well.
Maybe when I go to New York, I find that everyone wants to be an American, so everyone tries to assimilate because I'm an American, even though they just got off the boat from Kenya, which is cool. But I find in London, everyone doesn't need to be British; they can just be their own people. You don't see people, a woman walking down with a burqa in New York City, but she'll wear one in Knightsbridge. She doesn't give a fuck. So I think it's more diverse. That's my opinion.
I don't think so. I
Really?
don't think so. I think we've got communities all over the place who are really living as communities rather than as Brits. And
Really?
Yeah. And I'm not so sure that's a great thing.
You think they should be assimilating?
I remember sitting in I can't remember which bookstore it was in New York, and actually having really quite amazing conversations with people who I'd never met before, and that doesn't happen in London. You get on the tube.
I'm going to have to disagree with you, because that happens to me quite a bit.
Where?
Wherever, man. I mean, I instigated as well, and often it's with like a girl, but I'm pretty open. If I see someone reading a book I think is interesting, I'll say, hey dude, like what you reading, or is that a good book? Or, yeah.
I guess I don't do that.
Very often they're not British. They're like,
well, the British way isn't to go ahead and open up and talk to people.
No, it really isn't.
And that does permeate the city. And I found when I first got here, my first 20 friends, none of them were British.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Why are you guys like that?
Yeah. Very reserved culturally, huh?
I don't know. I'm not a typical Brit, really. I can't say that.
I
and
agree.
actually, I did get chatted to today by somebody who was
By
looking
Nick?
at the book. No.
Okay. So,
No, but it was by somebody who, he was looking at the book I was reading, and it's quite unusual. I mean, I think it was a bit of a chat up line, but anyway, it was quite unusual to be spoken to. I think the most we do, which I think is really, really funny, is when I sit on the tube and I'm smiling like a, mindlessly mad person because I feel like smiling. And the most,
oh my God, what's wrong with that person?
and the most interaction that's going on in that tube train is the fact that everybody's sharing their newspapers. Can I read your paper when I'm finished with
it's
it?
true.
So
is that just the nature of a highly urban culture, though?
I don't know. There is an element of the stiff upper lip.
Mm-hmm.
There is still an element of that stuff in British society.
Yeah, for sure.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Keep calm and carry on, right?
Yeah. It's not bad. It's not necessarily good.
For me, it's keep calm and eat chocolate. But yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You talk about the subway, though. I mean, if you're in the subway in New York and you ask someone for the newspaper, I mean, they're going to tell you to get out of their face.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I remember I moved from New York to Chicago, and
Yeah.
I was going to in the elevator, and someone hit the elevator in Chicago, and they were like, "How are you?" And my first reaction was, "Who the fuck are you?" Because because in New York, it's just like it's a standoffish. It's just like, get the fuck out of my way. Who do you think you are? Why are you following me? It's always like really aggressive, and so I find it surprising. Maybe you just bring out the best in people, Monique.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe it's just you, or maybe I'm just a jerk. You were talking about the busker, and I got a really quick busker story, and then I'll let it go. When I was 18, I had to decide between two universities, and one was Caltech, where my dad went, which is the California Institute of Technology, very, very good school in LA, and one was MIT, which is in Boston.
Shit school.
Yeah, right. So they're like two of these top competing institutions, right? And my dad went to Caltech, and he took me up and showed me Caltech, and Caltech's great. There's not a lot of girls around. It's a very small school, super smart dudes. I mean, those guys created the first microchip and like all this crazy stuff, and they're still doing great. And then my mom took me to Boston, and I saw Boston and saw the city, and then we were going to leave, and we went down in the subway. There's obviously no subway in LA. And there was a busker there, man. He was singing some crazy shit, like some crazy stuff. And I was just like, man, this is exactly where I want to be.
Wow.
I want to be in this urban kind of central thing where you see these crazy things happen,
Yeah,
and maybe it's because I
like
grew
that.
up on the West Coast too. I needed a change, but that busker sealed the deal.
Yeah, I
for
like
me.
that. I mean, I've seen it twice today on the lovely Northern Line.
Do you give him money?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Do you know what? I had an idea the other day about London Real. What we should do is we should have a homeless person on the show.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. Like, one of the questions, in fact, I will ask it when they come in is, I mean, when I see a homeless person, the first thing that goes through my mind is, how did it get to that point? What happened? What events transpired for you to find yourself with no home and nothing to eat, sitting in that spot? Like, I mean,
Probably very simple,
Yeah, I'm
just,
sure it
it
is.
just happened, and it could have happened to a lot of people, and
Yeah.
they probably have a really fascinating backstory. It's easy just to kind of look and, oh, you're homeless, I'm not going to look at you, but they probably have a lot of interesting things to say.
Yep.
We should do that. I wanted to get an Occupy Wall Streeter in here as well. When you go talk to them, it's hard to find a leader because there's no leaders,
Yeah, that's quite interesting. All of that stuff.
I mean, do either of you
Yeah.
guys know anyone who's become homeless?
No,
Because I don't either.
but I was close.
No, really.
Seriously.
Oh yeah.
Hit
I've been.
us up.
I've
Hit
been
us
in.
up.
Come on.
Not really. You know what? A relationship ends, your marriage ends, you've lost all your money, you start again. It's doable.
Do you? So I don't know your backstory, but I'm just going to take a guess. This is based on my own stuff and stuff that Brian and I have chatted about a lot. So that when that happened, when your marriage ended and you lost all your money, like, it was obviously incredibly traumatic. But looking back now, would you say it's one of the best things that ever happened to you?
I think I'm blessed. I think everything that's happened to me is yeah. I mean, I suppose in a way I'm a survivor. Nothing really would stop me. We all have rough times. We all have rough times. But I look at it now, and I've got 2 grown-up kids, and I'm pretty free, and my life's going the way I want it to go, and I'm doing what I want to do, and it's all been about lessons. So no, I don't really regret any of it. It's been good.
Cool.
It's a great
Been
perspective. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Me too.
I was speaking with someone the other day, and they were like, I might get sacked. And I was like, okay, you can deal with this. I was like, the 3 times I've been sacked, they were the greatest things that ever happened. I got
Yeah.
sacked in Chicago. And I mean, lovely city, but man, I don't want to be living in Chicago the rest of my life. And I'm like, they got me out of it, but I hadn't got sacked. I would have kept on earning that, going to that job you didn't really love, but it was paying the bills. But since you got sacked, like, okay, now you got to go do something new.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm thankful for all of those things. So it's all perspective, isn't it?
Absolutely.
On a slightly unrelated note, you showed us your pendant earlier, which has got the, what do you call that symbol again?
It's a hamsa. Yes.
Hamsa. Okay, and it means what exactly?
I think it's. I'm no expert on this, but it's very much a Middle Eastern. For me, it's a Jewish thing. It's the
Hamsa.
Israel connection thing, and it's.
Is it like Kabbalistic?
It's keeping the evil eye away. It's Okay. So.
Is it like a Turkish evil eye?
It's all around the same thing.
Okay.
It's all the same kind of stuff. And actually, you see a lot of this. Yeah, the evil eye thing is huge in the Middle East.
Okay.
So,
now, you flashed us your tattoo earlier.
I did flash my tattoo.
First of all,
I did.
Are you, if you're of the Jewish faith, you're not supposed to get tattooed, are you?
No,
Just
you're
a rebel?
not. You're not.
Okay.
But you know what? I know so many people who are, and all that. Are we allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, all that bullshit about the fact that you won't be buried and all that stuff. It's just libel nonsense. Don't get me started on all that.
No, this
as
is the
well.
good
But
stuff.
you know what?
Here we go.
Come on, Monique.
I have no time for ignorance. No.
Okay.
You know what? If I had dropped dead yesterday, and I'll always say it that way, but if I had, my rabbi would be quite happy to stick me in the ground in a sheet.
Okay.
So it's nonsense. It's nonsense. Yeah, I'm a bit of a rebel, but I'm not really not really that much of a rebel. And yeah, loads of my Jewish friends are tattooed.
Okay.
Hugely so.
It's funny because we had a Muslim girl sitting in that seat 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and she's got the tats, and I'm like,
I
"What's
know,
up?" And
yeah,
she's
I
like,
saw
"Well,
that.
in Islam they say it's you shouldn't hurt yourself." She's like,
Yep.
"They didn't hurt. Fuck off." Dude, we get some girl- we
Mine
got
hurt. Mine hurt.
It did.
But
Yeah.
what if you went to your rabbi with a tattoo of the Star of David? I mean, he couldn't be angry with you then, right?
No, you know what? I really didn't want to do that because I didn't want it to be like branding and it's too obvious. And I sort of do want another one.
Yeah, is that your only one?
Yeah,
No.
but I'm veering towards more
Yeah,
because
dude,
there
they're
is
the best,
there
though.
is. I have to say, I've looked at. I mean, I wouldn't want it everywhere. I wouldn't, but I've seen some that they're just amazing works of art. I think I got a bit addicted one evening to LA Inked, and I was watching it and just
Okay.
thought, oh, this is just amazing. I mean, they're amazing artists.
They're
amazing artists.
I watch those shows, and I don't.
Yeah,
I want to
just-
run from those tattoo
Yeah,
parlors.
it's
It's
crazy.
just amazing what they do. So
Some of it's hysterical. Like a guy will want some memory of his grandfather or something. So he'll come in with this weird mural of his grandfather with a dolphin and a rainbow.
I don't get those.
What is
That's
that
my
about?
brother died, and I want a picture of his head on my back.
Yeah,
I just don't get. Sometimes I feel
that's-
sad for these
no.
people. I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? Because you might not want that in a couple of years.
There was
But-
quite a sweet one I saw where this woman had lost her baby and she got her baby put on her arm, and that was actually quite sweet. But yeah, it's not. It's a bit freaky. It's freaky.
guess
You know what I
it's
want?
personal choice.
Actually, speaking of tattoos, the other day I saw. I was reading some article about Mike Tyson. There was a picture of him, and I saw a tattoo that I hadn't seen on him before. I think it's an old one though.
Okay.
Not the face one, obviously.
Not
but
Mao on his shoulder. He's got
is it?
General Mao or Chairman Mao from China
No,
on his
it's
shoulder.
not. But he has
Right?
He has Days of Grace written.
Oh, yeah?
Under a picture. I think it's Arthur Ashe is the picture of the dude, but I think that sounds kind of cool. Days of Grace.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Days of Grace.
Yeah.
So how does the tattoo? I mean, you obviously paint people for body art, and then you have a tattoo. Have you ever painted yourself? Do those have any kind of parallels?
Have I ever painted myself?
what
As
when
in
a chick
painted
puts on
on
the-
myself?
Well, you paint other people, so
When a chick puts on
I
makeup,
have
she's
actually,
painting
I have
herself
actually
in a
face,
way, right?
I have actually face painted myself, and I would actually go the whole hog with it. And I've got some really quite cool ideas about things I want to do in the future with all of that. So they're all ideas in development. But yes, exactly. We do paint ourselves, don't we? Every day. Well, if you wear makeup, then
What
you do.
What are your thoughts on that? I had a girlfriend once, and she was the biggest feminist, but then every morning she'd wake up and have a 2-hour makeup routine, and I was like,
can those not coexist?
well, I don't know, dude, because
I love that question.
Yeah.
I love it that you asked that. Okay, so what do I think?
yeah,
I suppose I'm a bit old-fashioned, and maybe if you asked a girl 10 years younger than me what I think, you know what, in a way, the feminism movement is amazing. However, I like men that are men. I like the old-fashioned thing. I like flowers and having the door held open, and I quite like that. And I think we've done a lot. It's about how you have it all. I'm very much an advocate of women who work. If they're doing the same job, be paid the same amount of money. We still have huge prejudices here in certain fields, and we do. And that's
do.
even in the UK. It doesn't matter. There are still certain careers and that you can go into as a man, and you're going to do better than a woman, because if you stop and have children, it's a problem. But you know what? If a woman's doing the same job as a man and she's working in an office and she has to leave at 4:00, pay her the same salary pro rata. You know, take that hour off her pay and let her go home and look after her kids. It's doable. And I think it's a lot more simple than we've made it as a society. I don't think it's so difficult, but
I think it is a lot more simple, and this is probably going to piss a lot of people off, but for me, I think feminism, one of the tenets of it is that men and women are equal, and men and women are not equal because equal means the same. Men and women are very different. Neither one is better than the other.
Correct.
But they definitely have different skills and different weaknesses. And when you try to say everyone's the same and a woman can do this the same as well as a man can, it's like saying that a man could like breastfeed a baby. It's just, you know what I mean?
It's different personalities. I mean, is her name Legardin? She's the head of the IMF now, that French lady that took over for the French dude that had those charges in New York City that were dropped. Christine Legardin, she's a very impressive woman, and they had an article on her on 60 Minutes the other day. But she said, look, she's like, as a woman, I don't need to go to be celebrated as the man. She's like, I'm here to get things done. And she's like, I think I can get them done in a different way as a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Margaret Thatcher, and she used to call Ronald Reagan up, and she'd be like, Ronnie, this is the way that needs to be. And you know, and a guy couldn't talk to Ronald Reagan like that. Ronald would be like, no, I'm the bigger man. I'm this. But I think a female can do things, especially in an executive role, that men in a different way than I think a man.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's really good. I actually think you're right. I think women still, unless there's a day when men are going to have babies, we are never going to be the same. We are never going to be the same. Until women are not the mothers and the nurturers and the caregivers. And you know what? For me, I don't really want to fight to be anything different than I am. I don't want to be. I suppose in some ways I am. I don't sit and wait for everything to be done for me. But
you don't want to be a ball breaker either.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's interesting, you know. I mean, I used to work in the city. Very few women in the city, but the ones that are there are very good.
Oh, really?
They are, yeah, very good. But they have to also just, you know, they're around these animals all day long. You know, these 95% of these men, and they're shouting and being nasty. But the ones that do it can do it very well, and they know how to handle it, and they can push the buttons on certain people the way other people can't. So they just use their femininity to their advantage. That doesn't mean in a sexual way. It just means they come at things with a different approach. You know, I mean, sometimes, I mean, let's just look at two bulls in the pasture. We're trying banging on our heads with each other, and there's obviously other ways of doing it. And I'd say the intelligent female executives, I think they find a way around that.
Absolutely right.
And then some of them try to be the guys, and I don't think that works always for them. It maybe works in some situations, but I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So tell us something about you that you haven't told us so far, Monique.
So it's been a lifelong dream of mine to be a student.
Okay.
Wow.
You've never been a student before?
I've never gone to university before.
Okay.
No, I left school at 16.
Wow.
I started
Why?
working.
That's young.
Where were you working?
I was working in promotions when I first left school, which I had really good fun doing.
Okay. What'd your parents think about that?
My parents, you know, it was a question of there wasn't enough money for me to go study and do what I wanted to do. So I went out there and I did something else.
Okay.
And I worked.
And it was like a blessing in disguise, I'm guessing.
Then I got married very young.
Okay.
I had children very young, which I don't regret at all because they're fantastic young human beings.
Okay. Do you want your kids to get married and have children young?
You know what? I'm not going to
good
want
question,
anything
right?
for my children.
Okay.
It's not a question of what I want. That was how my life worked out for lots of reasons, but it's not a question of want. I want my kids to be happy and fulfilled.
And do it. So then after that, it's up to them.
Completely.
Okay,
I'm their
that's
mum.
strong.
That's it.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean that is.
There's
as
not a
far
lot
as
of parents like that, by the way.
I don't know actually.
Really?
Maybe and maybe not. But I actually, you know what? I will support them and I'll be there. And they're really very different. My kids are very different. But they're both really great kids. So it didn't work out for me. And then I was bringing up young kids, and then
What
I was
didn't
working
work out for you?
to go to university.
Oh, okay. I thought you said like the marriage or something.
No, the marriage didn't work out for me either.
Some people
but
take
yeah.
divorce so seriously. Like my mom has been divorced twice, and she's like,
too.
I was divorced twice. I'd be like, Mom, Who cares? I broke up with like 10
Right,
girls.
and that's always
just
my
because it's
attitude.
a marriage. Who
you know
gives a
what?
shit?
You're so right. There are people who never ever get married, but they have loads and loads of relationships that never last more than 6 months or a year. So what? You know what? I got married to the guys, and great. I'm very happy about it. I had, my kids are great. My second husband I don't really speak to anymore, but no big deal. That's the way it was. And for me, it had never been the right time to do it. So I just decided that now is the time, and I'm loving it.
Awesome. What are you studying and where?
Psychology.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I saw that on your profile,
Yeah.
Birkbeck, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's great.
Just started, just absolutely love it. It's going to be amazing.
Dude, it's
Yeah.
learning something like that. It really changes. It's a different part of your brain, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's challenging, and maybe you guys are too young for this, but educating Rita, that's so me.
I remember that movie.
Yes.
Have you seen that movie?
That's so
It's a
me.
famous movie with who was in it?
Michael
Michael
Caine
Caine
and
and-
Julie Waters.
Yeah, she's
amazing.
She
Yeah.
goes to. She's like a
That's right.
non-educated like
Hairdresser.
hairdresser
Like
in her
I
like
was.
late
Yes.
20s or something,
That's
and she
right.
goes back to university, and with all these kind of university kids, and she doesn't really fit in, but
Yeah.
it's a good movie. Education.
Yeah, I wouldn't
great
mind watching
movie.
that.
It's really good.
So,
It's
so
really
all
good.
the kids in the class younger than you, and they
No,
must
this
be-
is quite interesting. I mean, I am one of the oldest in the class, but everybody's in their sort of 20s and 30s, perhaps. But it's not like going to university with kids my kids' age. I mean, both my kids started university this year as well after their various gap years. So it's quite funny. There's three of us now studying at the same
crazy.
time. It is cool.
That
It's
is
really
kinda
cool.
cool.
I encourage that kind
Yeah.
of education. I took 4 weeks out and took this TEFL course, which is teaching English
Yeah,
as a
my
foreign
daughter did
language.
that. Yeah.
Which I mean, it was a bitch. I mean,
Yeah.
I studied at MIT and they beat the shit out of us there, but this was
Yeah.
freaking 4 weeks of hell. And they said you're not going to have a social life. And
Yeah.
it was true. I mean, I was doing homework till like midnight every night. I was teaching every day English to foreign students. It was doing my head in. It was like
Yeah.
4 weeks, really hard. But man, I learned so much about phonetics and all these things. And I was just like, I was really glad I took it.
Yeah,
Man.
someone said to me, Nick, what makes you most happy? And I've been thinking about it for a while. For me, it's learning. Learning is it's my joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was the last time you learned something?
Every day.
Really?
Every day walking up. I mean, first of all, this past 40 minutes, whatever it's been, I've learned a whole bunch.
Oh, yeah.
But walking on the tube, like every time I'm watching people and body language and listening to conversations and just looking at the world in an open as possible way, and learning all the time. And
Yeah.
I want to be one of those people who's continually open to input from the world. You see these people who I don't know what it is, but there's certain individuals who make a decision at a certain time in their lives that like, okay, I know everything I need to know.
Yeah.
And
Happens to older people too.
You know what I
think,
mean?
where
Like,
it's-
but it doesn't happen to all older people.
yeah, that's true. Not all older
yeah.
people. Some people. Yeah. Like I said, it was going to zip by, but we only have a few minutes left. So I was wondering if we can get your Twitter and any other pages, if you're on Facebook or any.
Yes,
any
you
ways
can.
people contact you.
Well, the best one is at Monique Lester.
Okay.
That's the Twitter
All one
that
word.
I use. Yeah, all
Okay.
one
Cool.
word. And then you can go to nakedsoularт.com. I've got a Facebook page which I've just started for that as well, and
Okay.
of course London Digital PR. So yeah.
All right, we're going to flash all those up on the videos. So people can check them out.
Cool.
But Monique, that was tons of fun.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
so
learned a
much.
lot.
We're going to
That was
now
cool.
pick your brain once the cameras are off about PR for London Real, because
Cool.
we're trying to get this out there. But yeah, I think it's great to get some suggestions out there, and I'll just say it now: if anyone's listening out there and has some ideas about people for the show, we definitely want your input. And like I said, any feedback is great. We love comments. iTunes, if you can leave a comment there, it just moves us up in the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually number 48 of new and noteworthy podcasts
Wow.
at one point, dude,
Wow.
a couple weeks ago. So that's pretty cool
That's
that
pretty
we're
cool.
up there, and we have
Let's
more.
get to number one, right?
Yeah, let's do that. We have more people listening on iTunes and watching the videos, and it's thousands of people. So that's really cool. So thanks for everyone for that. Thanks, Monique, for coming in. It was tons of fun.
You're very welcome. Good to be
Yeah,
here.
nice to meet you, Monique.
Good to be here.
It's about the journey.
It's about the journey. All right, kids. Thanks. Bye.
That was fun. All that hour.